At 9 months pregnant, my water broke right in the car. My husband threw me out onto the roadside, saying, "Enough with the theatrics," and drove off with his mom. But he didn't know that a car was following us, and inside was. Sarah Martinez had been living in what felt like a beautiful prison for the past 2 years. Their house in Phoenix looked perfect from the outside, one of those cookie-cutter developments where every lawn was exactly the same shade of green. But inside? Well, that was a different story entirely. Marcus had this way of making everything seem like it was her fault. When she wanted to visit her sister in Tucson, suddenly, there wasn't enough money. "Baby, you know we're saving for the nursery," he'd say, but somehow there was always cash for his weekend trips with his buddies, or at least, that's what he called them. His mother Linda lived with them now, moved in right after Sarah hit 6 months pregnant, claiming she wanted to help with the baby. What a joke that turned out to be. Linda had opinions about everything: how Sarah folded the towels, what she ate, even how she walked. "You're waddling like a duck, dear. Try to have some dignity." The money thing really got under Sarah's skin. Marcus controlled every penny. She had to ask permission to buy groceries, for crying out loud. Her own debit card had been temporarily taken away 8 months ago because she'd bought prenatal vitamins without checking with him first. $37. That's what started the whole financial lockdown. Sarah used to have friends, good ones too. But Marcus had this sneaky way of making plans fall through. "Oh, you didn't tell me Jessica was coming over tonight." "I already invited my boss for dinner." It happened so many times that eventually, people stopped calling. Even her own mother barely reached out anymore. Something about not wanting to cause problems in your marriage. Lately, Marcus had been acting stranger than usual. Phone calls he'd take in the garage. Late nights at work that smelled suspiciously like expensive perfume. When Sarah asked about it, he'd flip it around somehow. "You're being paranoid, babe. Pregnancy hormones make women crazy, you know that." She'd started noticing other things too. Bank statements that disappeared before she could see them. Credit card bills that never came to the house anymore. When she'd asked about switching to online banking, Marcus laughed. "Why would you need to worry about that stuff? That's man's work." The whole Las Vegas thing came out of nowhere. Sarah was sitting at the kitchen table, trying to force down some toast. Morning sickness at 9 months, who knew that was even possible, when Marcus burst through the door like his pants were on fire. "Pack a bag. We're leaving in an hour," he announced, not even looking at her. Just started grabbing random stuff from the counter. "What, Marcus? I can barely walk to the mailbox without getting winded. Where are we going?" Sarah's back had been killing her all morning, and she'd been having these weird cramping feelings since she woke up. "Vegas, business opportunity. Mom's coming with us." Linda appeared from the hallway like she'd been waiting for her cue, already had her purse and a small suitcase. Funny how she was ready to go before Sarah even knew they were leaving. "I don't think this is a good idea. The baby's due any day now, and—" "The baby's not due for another week," Marcus cut her off. "Stop being so dramatic. You act like you're the first woman in history to have a kid." Linda chimed in with her usual charm. "Sarah, dear, you've been milking this pregnancy for months. A little car ride won't kill you. Besides, Marcus needs to focus on important things right now." The cramping got worse as they loaded the car. Sarah tried to tell Marcus, but he was too busy arranging his garment bag in the trunk like it contained the crown jewels. "Can you just get in the car? We're already behind schedule." 3 hours into the drive, somewhere between Phoenix and Flagstaff, Sarah felt something she'd never experienced before, like someone had twisted her insides with a wrench. She gripped the door handle and tried to breathe through it. "Marcus, something's wrong. These aren't normal cramps." "Oh, here we go," Linda muttered from the back seat. Drama queen strikes again. The next contraction hit like a freight train. Sarah actually screamed, and that's when she felt it. A warm gush that soaked through her clothes and onto the leather seat. Her water had broken. "Oh God, Marcus, we need to get to a hospital, now." Marcus glanced down at his precious car seat, now soaked with amniotic fluid, and his face went purple. Are you kidding me? Sarah, what the hell? Marcus pulled over so hard Sarah thought they were going to flip. They were on this empty stretch of Highway 17, nothing but desert, and those weird Joshua trees that always looked like they were trying to flag down UFOs. Sarah was doubled over, breathing like she'd just run a marathon. Get out, Marcus said. Just like that. Like he was talking to a dog that had peed on the carpet. What? Marcus, I'm having the baby. I can't get out of the car. Another contraction hit, and Sarah grabbed his arm. Big mistake. He shook her off like she was something gross he'd accidentally touched. You did this on purpose, didn't you? Ruined my seats, ruined everything. I've got important business in Vegas, and you pull this stunt. His voice had that cold edge she'd learned to fear over the past 2 years. Linda was practically bouncing in the back seat with excitement. Marcus, honey, she's been doing this for months, making everything about her. Maybe she needs to learn some responsibility. Mom's right. I'm done with your theatrics, Sarah. You want to act like you're dying? Figure it out yourself. Marcus actually got out and walked around to her side of the car. Opened the door like a gentleman, except gentlemen don't usually dump their pregnant wives on the side of the highway. Marcus, please. I'm scared. The baby's coming, I can feel it. Sarah tried to stay in the car, but another contraction hit and she couldn't help it. She screamed again. The sound echoed off the canyon walls. Enough with the theatrics. He grabbed her arm and pulled. Not rough enough to leave bruises, Marcus was too smart for that, but firm enough that she had no choice. Sarah found herself standing on the gravel shoulder, watching her husband get back in the driver's seat. Linda had moved up to the front passenger seat, settling in like she'd been planning this all along. You'll thank me for this later, Marcus called through the window. Sometimes people need tough love to grow up. The engine started. Sarah pounded on the window, but the car was already moving. She watched the taillights disappear around a curve, leaving her alone with nothing but desert, sky, and contractions that were coming every 2 minutes now. Her phone was in her purse, in the car, along with her wallet, her ID, everything. That's when Sarah realized she might actually die out here. The dust from Marcus's car was still settling when Sarah heard another engine. For a split second, her heart jumped. Maybe he'd changed his mind. Maybe he was coming back. But this was a different sound, deeper. A dark blue sedan appeared around the same curve, moving slowly like the driver was being careful about something. Sarah tried to wave, but another contraction knocked her to her knees on the gravel. The car pulled over immediately, and a man in his 40s jumped out. Hispanic guy, wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, moving with the kind of confidence that said he dealt with emergencies for a living. Ma'am, are you hurt? I saw what just happened back there. His voice was calm but angry, not at her, but definitely angry about something. My water broke, the baby's coming. Please, I need to get to a hospital. Sarah could barely get the words out between contractions. This guy was already on his phone, talking fast to someone about an ambulance and their location. My name's Detective James Rodriguez, Phoenix PD. I've been following your husband's car for the past 3 days. He knelt down beside her, his voice gentle but urgent. Sarah, right? We need to get you help first, but I need you to know, Marcus is in serious trouble. What? Sarah's brain couldn't process this information while her body was trying to push a human being into the world. Following him? Why? Embezzlement. He's stolen over $250,000 from his investment clients. We were building a case when I witnessed him abandon you here. Rodriguez helped her toward his car, supporting her weight as another contraction hit. This changes everything. The ride to Phoenix General was a blur of sirens, and Rodriguez talking to dispatch about arrests and roadblocks. Sarah barely remembered being wheeled into the emergency room, but she'd never forget the sound of her daughter's first cry echoing through the delivery room. Dr. Emily Chen was amazing, One of those doctors who talks you through everything while making it seem like delivering babies in emergency situations was just another Tuesday. She's perfect, Sarah. 7 pounds, 2 ounces of pure health. Rodriguez stayed the whole time. Sat in that uncomfortable hospital chair like he was family, making phone calls and filling out paperwork. When Sarah asked why he cared so much, he got quiet for a minute. My sister died in a domestic violence situation 15 years ago. Guy isolated her, controlled her money, made her think she was crazy. Nobody was there when she needed help. He looked at Sarah's baby, sleeping peacefully despite everything. I wasn't going to let that happen again. That's when Rodriguez explained the rest. Marcus wasn't just stealing money. He'd been planning to disappear completely. The Vegas trip was supposed to be their escape route to Mexico, then probably somewhere without extradition treaties. He was never coming back, Sarah. Neither was his mother. They were going to leave you with nothing. The phone call came at 6 in the morning, 2 days after Hope was born. Rodriguez's voice was tired, but satisfied. We got them at McCarran Airport. They were trying to board a flight to Costa Rica with fake passports. Sarah was still in the hospital bed, holding her daughter and trying to wrap her head around everything. Fake passports? This whole thing was planned months in advance. Marcus had been funneling money into offshore accounts since last Christmas. Your pregnancy wasn't part of his timeline, though. That's probably why he got so panicked when your water broke. The detective had brought copies of bank statements that made Sarah's stomach turn. Marcus had been living like a king while she asked permission to buy groceries. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms, jewelry purchases, all for someone named Jessica Hartwell, his secretary, turned out. She was supposed to meet them in Costa Rica, had her own ticket, bought with your money. Rodriguez handed Sarah a tissue as the tears started. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Linda had been the mastermind behind most of it. She'd helped Marcus identify which clients had the most liquid assets, which ones wouldn't notice missing money right away. The old lady had worked in accounting for 30 years before retirement. She knew exactly how to cook books without leaving obvious traces. The arraignment was a circus. Sarah watched from the gallery as Marcus and Linda stood in orange jumpsuits, looking nothing like the people who'd controlled her life for 2 years. Marcus kept glancing back at her, probably expecting her to bail him out somehow. Linda just stared straight ahead like she was bored. 8 years for Marcus, 3 for Linda, since she was technically an accessory, plus full restitution to the clients they'd robbed, which meant Sarah got to keep the house and car. Not that she wanted them anymore, too many bad memories. The divorce papers were signed before Marcus even got to county lockup. Amazing how fast things moved when you had a detective helping you navigate the system. Rodriguez had connected Sarah with a legal aid lawyer who specialized in financial abuse cases. You know what the weird part is? Sarah told her sister over coffee 3 months later. They were sitting in Sarah's new apartment, smaller than the old house, but it felt like a palace because it was actually hers. Hope was sleeping in her bouncer, making those little baby sounds that somehow made everything better. What's weird about any of this? Maria laughed, but not in a mean way. She'd been so happy when Sarah finally called, had been worried sick for months. I keep thinking about that moment on the highway. When I was sure I was going to die out there, it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, but also, it saved my life. Sarah watched her daughter's tiny chest rise and fall. If my water hadn't broken, if Marcus hadn't shown his true colors, I'd probably still be trapped in that house, asking permission to breathe. Rodriguez still stopped by sometimes, brought baby gifts and updates on the case. He'd become an unlikely friend, maybe the first real friend Sarah had made in years. Last week he'd brought his own daughter to meet Hope, 15-year-old Sophia, smart as a whip and planning to be a lawyer. You're going to be okay, he'd told Sarah, as they watched the girls together. Both of you, it's going to take time, but you're stronger than you know. Sarah believed him. For the first time in 2 years, she actually believed she was going to be okay.